She was the only black girl at that school who never looked away. Behind a rusted fence, a hungry boy stood shaking, dirt on his face, pride already broken. She opened her lunchbox and pushed it through the wire. "Take it," she whispered. He hesitated, then smiled softly.
When I grow up
become rich, I'll marry you."
I'm gonna
She
marry
laughed,
you.
thinking nothing of it. Years passed. The fence disappeared. So did the boy. Until one day in Seoul. Quiet streets, black cars slowing down, men stepping aside, and a calm Korean mafia boss said, "Make sure nothing ever harms her. Find the girl who fed me." Before we dive into this thrilling romance story, quickly hit the subscribe button, as this is the only way you can support us. The rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of the penthouse office overlooking Gangnam. Inside, Lee Mi-ho sat motionless behind a desk made of black marble and steel. His suit was pristine. His expression was carved from stone. But his hands betrayed him. They gripped a photograph so tightly the edges had begun to crease. The image was old, faded, taken from a distance. A girl with dark skin and bright eyes, her hair in 2 long braids, smiling at something beyond the camera's view. Behind her, barely visible, was a rusted chain-link fence. Sejangnam. Mi-ho didn't look up. His right-hand man, Kwon Jae-soo, stood in the doorway, drenched from the rain, holding a tablet. "We've gone through every international student registry from 2010 to 2015, Jae-soo said carefully. Cross-referenced with immigration records, social media archives, school databases in Seoul, Busan, Incheon, and..." Mi-ho's voice was quiet, dangerously quiet. Jae-soo hesitated. "Nothing, sir. No matches." Mi-ho finally looked up. His eyes were dark, unreadable, but there was something flickering beneath the surface. Something that looked almost like pain. "Then we're not looking hard enough. Sir, with respect, it's been 2 years. If she left Korea, if she changed her name, if she doesn't want to be found, she doesn't know I'm looking." Mi-ho stood, buttoning his jacket with slow precision. "Which means she has no reason to hide. Expand the search. Hire more investigators. I don't care what it costs." Jae-soo bowed slightly. "Yes, Sejangnam." As Jae-soo turned to leave, Mi-ho spoke again. "Jae-sooya." The man stopped. "Do you remember what it's like to be hungry? Really hungry?" Jae-soo's jaw tightened. He did. They both came from nothing. They both clawed their way up from dirt and shame. "I do, sir." "Then you understand," Mi-ho said softly, looking back at the photograph. "When someone feeds you when you're starving, you don't forget their face. You don't forget their kindness. And you sure as hell don't stop looking for them." Mi-ho's search wasn't just thorough, it was obsessive. In a basement facility in Gangnam, a room full of screens flickered with footage from thousands of CCTV cameras across Seoul. His men worked in shifts, scanning faces, running recognition software, tracking every young black woman who passed through Incheon Airport, Gimpo, train stations, bus terminals. Mi-ho visited this room every week. "Show me this month's flagged footage," he said, standing behind one of the analysts. The screen filled with clips. A woman with locks getting into a taxi in Itaewon. A woman with braids shopping in Myeongdong. A woman with short natural hair walking through Hongdae. None of them were her. "Run them again," Mi-ho said. "Sir, we've already cleared these." "Run them again." The analyst nodded quickly and restarted the footage. Mi-ho watched every frame. His eyes never wavered. Because somewhere in this city, or maybe beyond it, was the girl who saw him when he was invisible. The girl who shared her lunch when she had no reason to. The girl who smiled at him like he was worth something. And he would find her. When Seoul yielded nothing, Mi-ho expanded. He sent investigators to New York, to London, to Toronto, anywhere with significant Caribbean communities, anywhere a girl from Trinidad and Tobago might have gone after leaving Korea. His men interviewed former teachers, searched yearbook archives, tracked down old classmates who barely remembered a quiet black girl who kept to herself. There was a girl, one former student said during a video call. She was nice, shared her food sometimes, but I don't remember her name. She left after a year, maybe two. Do you remember where she went? Miho asked, leaning forward. The student shook her head. Sorry. It was so long ago. Every lead ended the same way. Faint memory, a blurry recollection, and then nothing. Who stood in Miho's office again? But this time his expression was different. Worried, almost pleading. The families are asking questions, Jisoo said carefully. You're 32, unmarried, no heir. They're starting to wonder if you're stable. Miho's laugh was cold. Stable. They're concerned about succession, about the future of your operations. They want reassurance. Then reassure them. With what? Jisoo's voice rose slightly. You've spent millions searching for a girl you knew for what? A few months? A year? When you were kids? Miho's gaze snapped to Jisoo, sharp as a blade. Choose your next words carefully. Jisoo exhaled slowly. I'm not questioning your judgment, sir. I'm questioning your priorities. You've built an empire. Hotels, real estate, investments that span 3 countries. But you're still chasing a memory. She's not a memory. Then where is she? Jisoo's voice softened. Mihoya, what if she doesn't exist the way you remember? What if she's moved on? What if she doesn't even remember you? The silence that followed was suffocating. Miho turned back to the window, hands clasped behind his back. I made her promise. Miho's voice didn't rise, but the weight of it filled the room. And I keep my promises. All of them. Jisoo bowed his head. Yes, Sajangnam. Miho's mother, Lee Misuk, was a formidable woman. Small in stature but immense in presence. She had raised Miho alone after his father died, working 3 jobs to keep him fed and in school. She was also the only person in the world who could walk into Miho's office unannounced. Mihoya. He looked up from his desk to see her standing in the doorway, dressed in an elegant hanbok, her silver hair pulled into a neat bun. Iyama. He stood immediately, bowing slightly. You should have called. I would have come to you. Sit, she said, waving him off. She settled into the chair across from him, studying his face with the sharp eyes of a woman who had seen too much and said too little. You look tired. I'm fine. You're lying. She folded her hands in her lap. How long are you going to keep doing this? Miho didn't ask what she meant. He knew. Until I find her. Misuk sighed. And what happens when you do? What if she's married? What if she has children? What if she doesn't want the life you've built? Then I'll accept it. Will you? His mother's gaze was piercing. Or will you keep chasing a dream until it destroys you? Miho leaned back in his chair, his jaw tight. Do you remember the day I came home with food? He asked quietly. The day I wasn't hungry for the first time in weeks? Misuk's expression softened. You asked me where I got it, Miho continued. And I told you a girl gave it to me. You cried, Yama. You cried because someone showed me kindness when the world showed us nothing but contempt. I remember, she whispered. I promised her I'd marry her when I got rich, and you told me to never break a promise. So I won't. Misuk reached across the desk and took his hand. My son. Some promises are made to be dreams, not chains. You've honored her memory. You've become the man you said you'd be. But you're still alone. I'd rather be alone than settle. It's not settling to build a life with someone who's here, who's real, who can stand beside you now. Miho pulled his hand back gently. I appreciate your concern, Yama, but I'm not ready. Misuk studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. One day, Mihoya, you'll have to let go. Maybe, he said, but not today. By the 5th year, the search had become a shadow operation. Miho no longer spoke about it openly. He no longer visited the CCTV rooms weekly, but the investigators still reported to him. The facial recognition software still ran in the background. The search never stopped, it just went quiet. Until one night, His phone rang at 2 a.m. "We have something." Jisu's voice was tense. "A match. CCTV footage from Incheon Airport. 3 days ago." Miho was out of bed before Jisu finished the sentence. "Send it to me. Now." The video arrived 30 seconds later. Miho watched it on his tablet, his heart pounding in a way it hadn't in years. A woman with dark skin and long locks walked through the arrivals terminal, pulling a suitcase behind her. She wore a simple dress and sneakers, sunglasses perched on her head. She looked tired but content. The camera angle shifted. For just 3 seconds, her face was fully visible. Miho's breath caught. It was her. Older, different, but unmistakably her. "Where did she go?" Miho's voice was hoarse. "We tracked her to a taxi. Lost visual after that. But we have the cab company. We're pulling records now." "Find her," Miho said, his hand trembling as he gripped the phone. "I don't care what it takes. Find her." "Yes, sir." But the trail went cold. The taxi dropped her somewhere in Gangnam, but the exact location was unclear. Construction had blocked several CCTV cameras in the area. The driver didn't remember her face. The cab company's GPS logs were incomplete. And just like that, she vanished again. "She's in Seoul," Miho said, staring at the frozen frame of her face on his screen. "She's here. Somewhere. We'll keep looking," Jisu promised. But weeks passed. Then months. No more sightings. No more leads. It was as if the universe had given him a glimpse of her just to taunt him. 6 months after the airport sighting, Miho sat alone in his penthouse, staring at the city below. His mother's words echoed in his mind. "You'll have to let go." Maybe she was right. Maybe the girl from the fence was never meant to be found. Maybe she was a memory, a moment of kindness frozen in time, never meant to become anything more. His phone buzzed. "Yama, dinner tomorrow, 7 p.m. Don't be late." The next evening, Miho sat across from his mother in a private room at a traditional Korean restaurant. The table was set for 3. "Who else is coming?" he asked, though he already knew. "A beautiful lady," his mother said calmly, pouring tea. "She's accomplished, kind, well-educated. Truth is I don't really know her, it's blind date," she whispered. "Iama. Just meet her, Mihoya. That's all I ask." One meeting. He wanted to refuse. He wanted to walk out. But the weariness in his mother's eyes stopped him. She had given him everything. The least he could do was give her this. "One meeting," he said finally. "That's all." His mother smiled, relief washing over her face. "That's all I ask." On the other side of Seoul, in a modest apartment in Mapogu, Zara Thompson unpacked the last of her boxes. She had been back in Korea for 3 months now, and it still felt surreal. Zara was a skincare formulator from Trinidad and Tobago, and after years of building her brand back home, she'd finally secured a partnership with a Korean beauty distributor. It was the opportunity of a lifetime, a chance to bring her Caribbean-inspired skincare line to one of the most competitive beauty markets in the world. But beyond business, there was something else that drew her back to Korea. Memories. She had lived here as a teenager nearly 15 years ago. Her father had been stationed at a U.S. military base for 2 years, and she'd attended a local international school. It was one of the hardest periods of her life, being the only black girl in a sea of sameness, enduring stares and whispers, feeling invisible and hypervisible all at once. But there were good memories too, like the boy behind the fence. She thought about him sometimes, wondered if he was okay, if he'd made it out of poverty, if he even remembered her. Probably not. It had been so long ago. And yet, every time she walked past a chain-link fence, she found herself looking for him. Zara's best friend, Sasha, had been relentless. "Girl, you've been in Seoul for 3 months and you haven't gone on a single date." Zara laughed, holding her phone between her shoulder and ear as she organized her skincare samples. "I'm here for work, Sash, not romance. You can do both. My cousin knows this guy, successful, mature, good-looking. He's looking to settle down. A blind date? Really? What's the worst that can happen? Free dinner, awkward small talk, and you leave. Come on, Zara. When's the last time you let someone take you out? Zara paused. Sasha had a point. She'd been so focused on her business that her personal life had become non-existent. Fine, she sighed. One date. But if he's weird, I'm blaming you. Deal, Sasha squealed. I'll send you the details. Saturday night. Dress nice. Saturday arrived too quickly. Miho stood in his walk-in closet, staring at rows of perfectly tailored suits. He selected a charcoal gray Tom Ford, paired with a black shirt and no tie. Professional but not intimidating. Jisoo stood in the doorway, arms crossed, smirking. Nervous, Sajangnam? No. You've changed 3 times. Miho shot him a look. I'm not nervous. I'm annoyed. At your mother? At myself. Miho adjusted his cufflinks. For agreeing to this. It's just dinner. It's a waste of time. Jisoo's smirk faded. Maybe. Or maybe it's exactly what you need. Miho didn't respond. He grabbed his coat and headed for the door. As he stepped into the elevator, his phone buzzed. Yama. Be kind. Be open. You never know. He pocketed the phone without replying. Zara stood in front of her mirror, trying on her 4th outfit. Why am I so nervous? She muttered to herself. She finally settled on a burnt orange wrap dress that complemented her deep brown skin, paired with gold hoop earrings and strappy heels. Her locks were pulled into a high bun, a few loose strands framing her face. She looked good. But more than that, she felt good. Okay, Zara, she said to her reflection. It's just dinner. Be yourself. If it's terrible, you leave. Simple. Her phone buzzed. Sasha. Have fun. And send me details after. Zara smiled, grabbed her purse, and headed out the door. The restaurant was called Wayne, an ultra-exclusive establishment in Cheongdam-dong. The kind of place where reservations were impossible unless you knew someone, or you were someone. Zara stepped out of her taxi and stared up at the sleek glass facade. Okay, this is fancy, she whispered. Inside, the hostess greeted her with a polite bow. Miss Thompson. Yes, that's me. Right this way. Zara followed her through a hallway lined with soft amber lighting and minimalist art. They stopped at a private booth, curtains drawn for privacy. Your guest will arrive shortly, the hostess said, bowing again before leaving. Zara sat down, smoothing her dress nervously. The table was set with delicate porcelain and fresh flowers. Soft instrumental music played in the background. She checked her phone. 7 p.m. Right on time. She took a deep breath. Just be yourself. Outside, 3 black sedans pulled up to the restaurant. The doors opened, and Miho stepped out, flanked by 2 of his men. Wait here, he said curtly. Sir, protocol. I said wait. They bowed and stepped back. Miho walked into the restaurant alone, his jaw set, his mind elsewhere. He just wanted this over with. One polite dinner, some empty conversation, and then he'd tell his mother he tried. The hostess greeted him with a deeper bow than she'd given Zara. Mr. Lee. This way, please. He followed her to the private booth, his hands in his pockets, his expression unreadable. She gestured to the curtain. He reached for it, pulled it back, and the world stopped. Zara looked up. Her breath caught. Time fractured, because sitting across from her, no, standing frozen in the doorway, was a man she hadn't seen in 15 years. But she knew his face. She knew those eyes. No, she whispered. Miho stared at her, his hand still gripping the curtain, his entire body rigid. Couldn't be. It wasn't possible. But it was. It's you, he breathed. Amara stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. Oh my God, she whispered, her hand covering her mouth. Oh my God, it's you. The girl from the fence. His voice cracked. It's really you. Tears welled in her eyes. The boy who promised to marry you. Miho stepped forward, his composure shattering. I looked for you. For 5 years. I looked everywhere. I was here. She stammered, her voice shaking. I came back 3 months ago. I know. I saw you. At the airport. But I lost you. His hands trembled. I stopped searching 3 weeks ago. Zara's tears spilled over. You really looked for me? Every day, he said hoarsely. Every single day. They stood there, two strangers who were never really strangers, separated by a table and 15 years and a promise neither of them forgot. This can't be real, Zara whispered. Miho took another step closer. Do you remember what I said to you? Behind the fence. She nodded, her voice breaking. You said, when you became rich, you'd marry me. I meant it. His eyes never left hers. Every word. Zara laughed through her tears, shaking her head in disbelief. I thought it was just something kids say. It wasn't. Miho's voice was steady now, grounded in certainty. It was a promise, and I don't break my promises. The air between them crackled with something unspoken, something that had waited 15 years to be acknowledged. Sit, Miho said softly, gesturing to the table. Please. Zara sat slowly, her hands trembling. Miho sat across from her, and for a long moment, neither of them spoke. They just looked at each other, really looked, seeing the people they'd become. So, Zara said finally, her voice still shaky. You're rich now. Miho's lips twitched into the faintest smile. I kept that part of the promise. What do you do? He hesitated. How did you explain to someone that you were a Korean mafia boss? That you operated in the shadows? That men bowed to you out of fear as much as respect? I run businesses, he said carefully. Hotels, real estate, investments. That's a vague. It's complicated. Zara studied him, her head tilting slightly. You're powerful, aren't you? Miho didn't flinch. Yes. How powerful? Powerful enough that nothing will ever hurt you. The certainty in his voice sent a shiver down her spine. Are you? She hesitated. Are you dangerous? Not to you. His gaze was intense. Never to you. Zara leaned back slightly, processing. So let me get this straight. You're some kind of what? Business tycoon? Crime boss? Does it matter? Yes, she said firmly. It matters. Because I need to know who you are now, not who you were. Miho respected that. I'm the head of an organization, he said slowly. We operate in gray spaces, legal and less legal. I've built an empire, yes, but I've also made enemies. My world is not simple. It's not safe. And it's not something I would ever drag you into. But you want to marry me. The bluntness of it made him blink. I want to keep my promise, he corrected. But not like this. Not as a transaction. Not because I said it 15 years ago. He leaned forward. I want to know who you are now. I want to earn the right to keep that promise. Zara felt her walls cracking. You really never stopped thinking about me? Not once. Why? Miho's jaw tightened. Because you saw me. When I was nothing. When I was invisible. You looked at me like I was worth something. And that saved me. Zara's eyes glistened. I just gave you lunch. You gave me hope. The silence between them was heavy but not uncomfortable. What about you? Miho asked. What brought you back to Korea? Zara smiled softly. Business. I create skincare products. Natural, Caribbean-inspired formulas. I partnered with a distributor here. It's been a dream, honestly. You're doing what you love. I am. She paused. But I also came back because I had good memories here, despite everything. Despite being the only black girl in a school that didn't know what to do with me. You were never invisible to me. Her breath hitched. I thought about you too, you know, she admitted. Not every day. But sometimes. I wondered if you were okay. If you made it out. I did. Because of you. Stop saying that, she said, her voice breaking. You did it yourself. I did it because you made me believe I could. Do you remember what was in the lunchbox? Miho asked suddenly. Zara blinked. What? The lunchbox. The first time you fed me. Do you remember what you gave me? She thought for a moment, then smiled faintly. Rice. some kind of stir-fried vegetables. And I think my mom had packed fried plantains. Miho's eyes softened. Plantains. I'd never had them before. I thought they were the best thing I'd ever tasted. Zara laughed, wiping her eyes. You ate so fast. I thought you'd choke. I was starving. I know. Her smile faded. That's why I kept bringing you food. Every day. Until you left. She nodded. I wanted to say goodbye, but I didn't know how to find you. And then we just left. I looked for you at school the next week. You were gone.
I'm sorry.
Don't be. Miho reached across the table, his hand stopping just short of hers. You're here now. Can I tell you something? Miho said quietly. Of course. I didn't just search for you with investigators. I used CCTV footage. Thousands of hours. Across Seoul. Across other cities. I had facial recognition software running for years. Zara's eyes widened. That's intense. I know. It sounds insane. It is insane. She paused. But it's also kind of incredible? He looked at her, surprised. You think so? Most people would call it obsessive. But I think... She hesitated. I think it means you actually cared. That it wasn't just some childhood fantasy. You really wanted to find me. I did.
Ido.
Why? Because I made you a promise, Miho said simply. And because you were the only person who ever made me feel like I mattered. Zara reached across the table and took his hand. He froze. Her touch was warm, real, grounding. You matter, she whispered. You always did. But then Zara pulled her hand back, doubt flickering across her face. Miho, what if we're not who we think we are? What if we've built each other up in our heads? What if this is just nostalgia? He considered her words carefully. You're right to question it, he said. We're not the same people we were. We've lived entire lives without each other. Exactly. But that doesn't mean this isn't real. He leaned forward. I don't want to marry the memory of you. I want to know the woman you've become. I want to earn you, not because of a promise, but because you choose me. Zara's heart raced. And if I don't, then I'll respect it. His voice was steady. But I'll never stop hoping. Miho reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out something small. Pencil. Worn. Faded. The eraser long gone. Zara's breath caught. Is that? You gave this to me, Miho said. The day after the fence. You said, write your future. Tears spilled down her cheeks. You kept it. I kept everything. Every memory. Every word. She covered her mouth, sobbing. I can't believe this is real. It is. Miho set the pencil on the table between them. And I'm not letting you disappear again. They talked for hours. The food arrived, but neither of them ate much. They were too consumed by each other. Catching up on 15 years, sharing stories, laughing, crying, filling in the gaps. Zara told him about Trinidad, about her family, about building her business from scratch, about the struggles and triumphs. Miho told her about his rise, about the choices he made, the lines he crossed, the empire he built. And slowly, carefully, they began to see each other, not as memories, but as people. Can I ask you something? Zara said softly. Anything. Why did you agree to this blind date? If you were still looking for me? Miho exhaled slowly. Because I'd given up. Her eyes widened. 3 weeks ago, I told myself I had to stop, that I was chasing a ghost. Had I needed to move forward? He looked at her. And then the universe brought you to me anyway. Fate, Zara whispered. Fate, he agreed. Over the next few weeks, Miho and Zara fell into a rhythm. He would pick her up after work, never in the intimidating black cars, but in something simpler. They'd go to street food stalls, quiet cafes, places where they could just be two people getting to know each other. He learned that she loved spicy food, that she spoke 3 languages, that she had a scar on her knee from falling off a bike when she was 8. She learned that he was a morning person, that he couldn't cook to save his life, that he still had nightmares about being hungry. They talked about everything. except the one thing that hung between them, the promise. 3 months into their courtship, Miho invited Zara to meet his mother. She was terrified. What if she doesn't like me? She'll love you, Miho assured her. How do you know? Because you're the reason I'm still alive. Zara blinked. What? I'll explain later. Come on. They arrived at his mother's home, a traditional hanok in Bukshan. Simple, elegant, warm. Lee Misuk greeted them at the door, her sharp eyes immediately sizing up Zara. Then she smiled. So you're the girl who fed my son. Zara's eyes widened. He told you? He's been telling me for 15 years. Misuk stepped aside, gesturing for them to enter. Come in, child. Let me see you properly. Inside, the house smelled of ginger tea and incense. Zara removed her shoes and followed Misuk into a cozy sitting room with floor cushions and a low table. Miho squeezed her hand briefly before letting go.
Sit. Misuk said, pouring tea.
Mihoya, go get the John from the kitchen. Iama, go. Miho shot Zara an apologetic look before disappearing into the kitchen. The moment he was gone, Misuk's demeanor shifted. She wasn't unkind, but her gaze became penetrating. You don't remember me, do you? Zara froze.
I'm sorry.
Misuk smiled faintly. The day my son came home with food for the first time in weeks, he told me about a girl. A black girl with braids who shared her lunch. I wanted to meet you, to thank you. But you were gone before I had the chance. Zara's throat tightened. I didn't know. I didn't realize how much it meant. You saved his life, Misuk said simply. Not just from hunger, from hopelessness. He was a boy who believed the world had nothing for him. And then you showed him kindness. Real kindness. The kind that asks for nothing in return. Tears welled in Zara's eyes. I saw someone who needed help. And that, Misuk said, reaching across to take Zara's hand, is why you're perfect for my son. Because you have a good heart. And he needs that. But then Misuk's expression grew serious. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Zara nodded. Are you prepared for what life with my son means? I think so. You don't. Misuk's voice was gentle but firm. Miho operates in a world most people never see. A world of power and influence and danger. He's a Korean mafia boss child. Do you understand what that means? Zara swallowed hard. He told me about his businesses, about the gray areas. Gray areas. Misuk laughed softly. That's a kind way to put it. But here's the truth. My son is feared, respected, but also hated. He has enemies, people who would hurt him if they could. And if you stand beside him, they will see you as a way to hurt him. He said he'd protect me. And he will, with his life. But is that the life you want? Always looking over your shoulder? Always wondering if someone is watching? Zara's hands trembled slightly. I don't know, she admitted. But I know that when I'm with him, I feel safe. I feel seen. The way I did 15 years ago. Misuk studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Good. Because if you're going to be with my son, you need to be strong. Not just for him, but for yourself. Just then, Miho returned with a plate of John. Are you interrogating her, Iyama? I'm educating her, Misuk said primly. There's a difference. Over dinner, the conversation shifted to lighter topics. Misuk asked about Trinidad, about Zara's family, about her business. Your mother must be very proud, Misuk said. She is, Zara said warmly. She always encouraged me to dream big, even when it seemed impossible. Like my son. Misuk glanced at Miho, always dreaming of things that seemed impossible. I don't dream, Iyama. I plan. You dreamed of her, Misuk said pointedly. Miho's ears turned slightly red. Zara bit back a smile. You know, Misuk said, turning to Zara. In Korea, when a man is serious about a woman, he brings her to meet his family. It's a sign of respect, of intention. Iyama, I'm just saying. Misuk's eyes twinkled. It's good you're here. Zara felt her cheeks warm. After dinner, as they prepared to leave, Misuk pulled Zara aside. Take care of him, she whispered. He's stronger than he looks, but he's also more fragile. You're the only person who's ever made him believe he's worth loving. I will, Zara promised, but not everything was smooth. A few weeks later, Zara's best friend Sasha flew in from Trinidad for a visit, and she was not impressed. Girl, are you insane? Sasha hissed as they sat in Zara's apartment. A mafia boss? Really? He's not like that. Not like what? Not dangerous. Not surrounded by criminals? Zara, you're dating a man who probably has people killed. That's not fair. Isn't it? Sasha's voice rose. You don't know what he does. Not really. You're seeing what he wants you to see. Zara's jaw tightened. I know enough. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, you're in way over your head. This isn't some K-drama romance, Zara. This is real. And real has consequences. I know that. Then why are you doing this? Zara was quiet for a long moment. Because when I'm with him, she said finally, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Like everything I've been through, every struggle, every lonely moment, led me to him. Sasha's expression softened. You really love him. I think I do, Zara whispered. Or at least, I'm falling. Sasha sighed. Just promise me you'll be careful, that you won't lose yourself in this. I promise. But Sasha's warning proved prophetic. One evening, as Miho and Zara were leaving a gallery opening in Itaewon, a man approached them. He was tall, well-dressed, with a sharp smile that didn't reach his eyes. Lee Miho, the man said in Korean. I didn't expect to see you here. Miho's entire demeanor shifted. His posture straightened. His expression went cold. Choi Sang-woo. It's been a while. Sang-woo's eyes slid to Zara. And who is this? None of your concern. Protective, are we? Sang-woo's smile widened. Interesting. I didn't think the great Lee Miho had weaknesses. Miho stepped between Sang-woo and Zara, his voice dropping to a dangerous calm. Walk away. Now. Or what? Sang-woo's tone was mocking. You'll make me? In front of all these people? In front of her? For a moment, Zara thought Miho might actually hit him. But instead, he did something worse. He smiled. It was a cold, terrifying smile. The kind that promised retribution. Enjoy your evening, Sang-woo SSI, Miho said quietly. What's left of it? Sang-woo's smirk faltered. He glanced at Zara once more, then turned and walked away. The moment he was gone, Miho's hand found Zara's. We're leaving. Who was that? Zara asked as they hurried to the car. A rival. Someone who's been trying to undermine my operations for years. He looked at me like I was a target. You're not. Miho's grip on her hand tightened. I won't let anything happen to you. But as they drove away, Zara couldn't shake the feeling that things had just gotten very, very complicated. The next morning, there was a knock at Zara's door. She opened it to find a woman standing there. Late 20s, sharp suit, expressionless face. Miss Thompson. Yes. My name is Agent Kim. Mr. Lee has assigned me as your security detail. Zara blinked. My what? Your bodyguard. I'll be accompanying you during all public outings until further notice. Wait, no. I didn't agree to this. With respect, Miss, Mr. Lee was very clear. Your safety is not negotiable. Zara felt anger flare. She grabbed her phone and called Miho. He picked up on the first ring. Good morning. What the hell, Miho? Silence. You assigned me a bodyguard without asking me? After what happened last night. You don't get to make decisions for me. Zara's voice shook. I'm not some damsel who needs protecting. Zara. No. Listen to me. I appreciate that you're worried. But I'm a grown woman. If we're going to do this, if we're going to be together, you need to respect my autonomy. You can't just control my life because you're scared. Miho was quiet for a long moment. You're right, he said finally. I'm sorry. I should have asked. Yes, you should have. Can we compromise? I'm listening. Agent Kim only accompanies you when you're in areas where I have reason to believe Sang-woo might be. Otherwise, she stays back. But she remains on call. Just in case. Zara exhaled slowly. Fine. But you ask me first next time. I will. I promise. After she hung up, Agent Kim was still standing in the doorway. For what it's worth, Kim said quietly. He cares about you. A lot. I've worked for him for 3 years. I've never seen him like this. Zara softened slightly. Like what? Scared. That night, Miho came to her apartment. He stood in her doorway, looking exhausted. Can I come in? Of course. He stepped inside, and for a moment, he just stood there, hands in his pockets, staring at the floor. I'm sorry, he said finally, for overstepping, for trying to control things. I know. He ran a hand through his hair. I spent 5 years looking for you, and now that I have you, the thought of losing you, of someone hurting you because of me, it terrifies me. Zara stepped closer. Miho, look at me. He did. I'm not going anywhere, she said softly. But you have to trust me. Trust that I can handle myself. Trust that I'm choosing this. Choosing you with my eyes open. I do trust you. Then show me. Don't try to protect me from everything. Let me stand beside you. Not behind you. Miho reached out, cupping her face gently. You're stronger than I give you credit for. Damn right I am. He smiled, really smiled, for the first time that day. I don't deserve you. Probably not, she teased. But you're stuck with me anyway. He kissed her then. Soft, tentative, like he was afraid she might disappear. But she didn't. She kissed him back. And for the first time, Miho felt like maybe, just maybe, the promise he made 15 years ago might actually come true. But peace was short-lived. 2 weeks later, Miho's phone rang at 3 a.m. Jisu's voice was tense. Sajangnam, we have a problem. Miho was instantly alert. What kind of problem? Sang-woo made a move. He's been buying up shares in one of our front companies. Quietly, through shell corporations. He's trying to take control. How much does he have? 38%. If he gets to 51. He won't. Miho was already getting dressed. Call an emergency board meeting. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He hung up and turned to find Zara awake, sitting up in bed. What's wrong? Work, he said tersely. I have to go. At 3 a.m.? It's complicated. She watched him dress, her expression unreadable. This is your world, isn't it? The part you don't talk about. Miho paused. Yes. Are you in danger? No. But my business is. Do you need help? He looked at her, surprised. What could you possibly? I'm a businesswoman too, Miho. I understand strategy. Leverage. Maybe I can help. He wanted to say no, to keep her separate from this part of his life. But he'd promised to let her stand beside him. Come with me, he said. 20 minutes later, Zara found herself in a sleek conference room filled with serious-looking men in suits. They all stared at her. Who is she? One of them asked. Someone I trust, Miho said curtly. Now, status update. Jisu pulled up a presentation. Sang-woo's been building this position for 6 months. Slowly, quietly. We didn't catch it until now. If he reaches controlling interest, he'll gut the company and sell it for parts, Miho finished. How much time do we have? 2 days, maybe 3. He's scheduled a shareholder vote for Friday. Can we buy back shares? Not enough. The market's locked up. He's got everyone scared to sell to us. Zara listened carefully, her mind racing. What if you don't buy them back? She said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at her. Excuse me? One of the board members said. What if instead of trying to outbid him, you make the company worthless to him? Miho raised an eyebrow. Explain. He wants control so he can sell it, right? Break it apart and liquidate the assets. But what if there are no assets left to liquidate? You're suggesting we gut our own company, Jisu said incredulously. Not gut. Restructure. Transfer the valuable assets, intellectual property, contracts, key personnel, into a new subsidiary. Leave him with an empty shell. The room went silent. Then Miho smiled. It was the same cold smile he'd given Sang-woo at the gallery. That could work. It's risky, Jisoo warned. It's brilliant, Miho countered. He looked at Zara. You're sure about this? It's what I'd do. Then we do it. Miho turned to the board. You have 48 hours. Move everything. Quietly. Let him think he's winning. And when he calls that shareholder vote, we'll give him exactly what he wanted, an empty victory. For 2 days, Miho's organization moved like a machine. Contracts were renegotiated. Intellectual property was transferred. Key employees were relocated to the new subsidiary. Zara worked alongside them, offering strategic advice, catching details others missed. And Miho watched her with something close to awe. You're good at this, he said during a rare break. I told you, I'm a businesswoman. You're more than that. He reached for her hand. You're my partner. She squeezed his hand. Don't forget it. Friday arrived. The shareholder meeting was held in a sterile conference room in a downtown high-rise. Sang-woo sat at the head of the table, smug satisfaction radiating from him. Miho sat across from him, expression neutral. Shall we begin? Sang-woo said. The vote was swift. Sang-woo's coalition controlled 51% of the shares. He'd won. Congratulations, Mr. Lee, Sang-woo said mockingly. It seems your empire just got a little smaller. Miho stood, buttoning his jacket. Enjoy your victory. He walked out without another word. Sang-woo's smile widened, until his assistant whispered something in his ear. His expression changed. What do you mean the assets have been transferred? Sir, according to these documents filed this morning, all intellectual property, contracts, and key personnel have been moved to a subsidiary. Which subsidiary? A new one, established 3 days ago. Sang-woo's face went white. He'd just bought a company that was worth nothing. An empty shell. That evening, Miho and Zara sat on the rooftop of his penthouse, watching the city lights. He's going to come after you, Zara said quietly. Let him try. I'm serious, Miho. So am I. He turned to face her. But I'm not worried. Because I have something he doesn't. What's that? You. She laughed softly. I'm just a skincare formulator. You're a strategic genius. You're brave. You're loyal. And you see things other people miss. He took her hand. You're everything. Zara's eyes glistened. You really mean that? Every word. 6 months passed. 6 months of dinners and late-night conversations and stolen kisses. 6 months of Zara building her business and Miho rebuilding his. 6 months of falling deeper in love. Until one day, Miho called Jisoo into his office. I need you to do something for me. Anything, Sajangnam. Find the fence. Jisoo blinked. I'm sorry. The fence. Where I met her. Find out what happened to it. And if it still exists, I need it. Understanding dawned on Jisoo's face. You're going to propose. Miho nodded. It's time. Jisoo spent weeks tracking down the fence. The school had been demolished years ago, replaced by a shopping complex. But he eventually found someone who remembered. The fence was taken down during construction, the foreman said. Most of it was scrapped, but we saved a section. Nostalgia, I guess. It's in storage. Jisoo paid an exorbitant amount to have it retrieved, cleaned, and transported. When Miho saw it, his eyes softened. This is it. What are you going to do with it? You'll see. Miho had the fence section installed in a private garden on the outskirts of Seoul. He surrounded it with lights, flowers, and the kind of quiet beauty that made you stop and breathe. Then he called Zara. I need to show you something. Now? It's 9 p.m. Trust me. She did. When Zara arrived at the garden, her breath caught. The fence stood in the center, illuminated by soft golden light. And standing in front of it was Miho. He was holding a lunchbox. What is this? She whispered. 15 years ago, you stood on one side of this fence. And I stood on the other. You gave me food, hope, a reason to keep going. He opened the lunchbox. Inside were rice, stir-fried vegetables, and fried plantains. Miho, today, I'm standing on the same side as you. No fence between us. No barriers. Just two people who found each other against all odds. He set the lunchbox down and took her hands. Zara Thompson, you saved my life. You made me believe I was worth something. And I spent 15 years trying to become a man worthy of you. Tears streamed down her face. I don't know if I'm there yet, he continued, his voice breaking. But I promise I'll spend the rest of my life trying. So I'm asking you, again, the same thing I asked 15 years ago. He dropped to one knee, pulled out a ring. Will you marry me? Zara sobbed, nodding furiously. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. He slid the ring onto her finger, stood, and pulled her into his arms. They kissed in front of the fence that had once separated them. The fence that had brought them together. The fence that would always remind them where they came from. The wedding planning was chaos. Two cultures colliding in the most beautiful way. Zara wanted a traditional Trinidadian ceremony with soca music and roti and her entire extended family flying in. Miho wanted a traditional Korean ceremony with hanboks and paibik and his mother's blessing. They decided to do both. Are you sure? Zara asked. That's a lot. You're worth it, Miho said simply. The first ceremony was held on a beach in Trinidad. Zara wore a stunning white dress with gold accents, her locks adorned with tropical flowers. Miho wore a crisp white suit, looking slightly out of place but happy. When they exchanged vows, under a bamboo arch, with the ocean as their witness, there wasn't a dry eye in the crowd. I promise to feed you, Zara said through tears, not just with food, but with love, with laughter, with everything I have. I promise to protect you, Miho said, not because you need it, but because you deserve it. And I promise to always see you, the way you saw me. The second ceremony was held in Seoul, in a traditional hanok. Zara wore a stunning red and gold hanbok, the fabric shimmering in the light. Miho wore a royal blue hanbok, looking every bit the powerful man he'd become. During the paibik ceremony, Zara bowed to Miho's mother, offering her dates and chestnuts. Misuk wept openly. Welcome to our family, she whispered, pulling Zara into an embrace. My daughter. The reception was a blend of both worlds. Korean barbecue and Trinidadian curry, K-pop and soca, traditional dances and modern celebration. As Miho and Zara took the floor for their first dance, he whispered in her ear, Do you remember what I said? Behind the fence. When I become rich, I'll marry you. I kept my promise. She smiled against his chest. You did. And I'll keep every other promise I make to you. For the rest of my life. I know, she whispered, because you're Lee Miho, and you don't break promises. They honeymooned in the Maldives. Private island. Just the two of them. No bodyguards. No business calls. Just peace. On their third night, as they lay on the beach under the stars, Zara turned to him. Do you ever think about how insane this is? That we found each other again. Every day. What are the odds? I don't know, Miho said, but I don't care, because it happened, and I'm never letting you go. Good, she said, snuggling closer, because I'm not going anywhere. But eventually they had to return to Seoul, to real life, to the complications of being a Korean mafia boss's wife. It wasn't easy. There were stares, whispers, judgment from people who didn't understand. But Zara held her head high, because she'd been the only black girl at that school once. And she'd survived. This was nothing. Zara's skincare line exploded in popularity. Partly because of her talent. Partly because of Miho's connections. But mostly because she was brilliant. I don't need your help, she told him one day. I know, he said. But I want to support you anyway. There's a difference between support and taking over. I know that too. She studied him. Good, because this is mine. My dream. My business. You can cheer me on. But you don't get to control it. I wouldn't dream of it, Miho said, pulling her close. "You're the boss here." She grinned. "Don't forget it." But Sang-woo hadn't forgotten. 6 months after the wedding, Miho received a message. "Congratulations on the marriage, beautiful wife. It would be a shame if something happened to her." Miho's blood ran cold. He immediately called Jisoo. "Double security on Zara. Now. Sir. Now." When Zara came home that evening, she found Agent Kim back at her door. And she knew. "He threatened me, didn't he?" Miho couldn't lie to her. "Yes." "What did he say?" "It doesn't matter. Tell me." Miho's jaw tightened. He showed her the message. Zara's expression hardened. "I'm not hiding. Zara. No. Listen to me. I'm not going to let some petty rival dictate my life. If he wants to come after me, fine. But I'm not cowering. He's dangerous." "So are you," she said pointedly. "And I'm married to you. I knew what I was signing up for." Miho pulled her into his arms. "I can't lose you." "You won't," she promised. "Because we're in this together. Remember." 2 weeks later, Sang-woo made his move. He tried to sabotage one of Zara's product launches by spreading false rumors about contamination. But Zara was ready. She held a press conference, presented third-party lab results, and turned the narrative around so completely that Sang-woo's credibility took the hit instead. And then she did something unexpected. She called him, "Mr. Choi, this is Amara Lee." "Mrs. Lee," Sang-woo said, surprise evident in his voice. "I'm going to say this once. Come after me again, and I won't need my husband to handle you. I'll destroy you myself. Business is my world. And in my world, I don't lose. Are we clear?" Silence. Then, to her surprise, Sang-woo laughed. "I underestimated you. Everyone does. Their mistake. Consider the message received." He hung up. When Zara told Miho what she'd done, he stared at her in disbelief. "You threatened Sang-woo?" "He threatened me first." "Zara. Did it work?" Miho checked his phone. Jisoo had sent him an update. "Sang-woo's pulling back. Says he's done with this particular conflict." Miho looked at his wife with newfound respect. "It worked. Then we're good." She kissed his cheek. "I told you. I can handle myself." A year into their marriage, Zara discovered she was pregnant. She told Miho over dinner, sliding the positive test across the table. He stared at it for a full minute. "Is this real?" "Very real." He looked up at her, his eyes glistening. "We're having a baby?" "We're having a baby." Miho stood, walked around the table, and pulled her into the tightest embrace of her life. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you." Miho became insufferable during the pregnancy. Overprotective didn't even begin to cover it. "You need to rest." "I'm pregnant, not dying." The doctor said I'm healthy. Stop hovering." But she didn't really mind, because underneath the overprotectiveness was pure love and fear. "What if I'm a terrible father?" he asked one night as they lay in bed. "You won't be." "How do you know?" "Because you were a boy who had nothing and you built an empire. Because you kept a promise for 15 years. Because you love with everything you have." She took his hand and placed it on her stomach. "This baby is already so loved. They'll never doubt it." When Zara went into labor, Miho nearly passed out. "Breathe," she said through contractions. "I'm trying." "Not you. Me. Right? Sorry." 20 hours later, their son was born. He was perfect. Dark skin like his mother. His father's eyes. A full head of black hair. Miho held him for the first time and wept. "He's beautiful," he whispered. "He's ours," Zara said tiredly. They named him Choi. Choi Lee. Imagine naming a black child Choi Lee. A bridge between two worlds. Watching Miho as a father was something Zara never expected. The fearsome Korean mafia boss was reduced to putty in his son's hands. He changed diapers, did midnight feedings, sang to him in Korean. "You're a natural," Zara said one night, watching him rock Choi to sleep. "I'm terrified," he admitted. "Of what?" "Of failing him. Of not being enough." Zara stood and wrapped her arms around him from behind. You're already enough. You're more than enough. One day, Zara came home to find something new in their living room. A section of the fence, the original fence, mounted on the wall like art. Beneath it was a plaque. Where it all began. Miho. He came up behind her, Choi in his arms. I wanted him to know, he said softly. Where we came from. How we found each other. So he'll always know that kindness matters. That promises matter. That love is worth fighting for. Zara turned, tears in her eyes. You're going to make me cry. Good, he teased. You've made me cry enough. Years passed. Choi grew up bilingual, bicultural, loved beyond measure. Zara's business expanded internationally. Miho gradually didn't step back from the darker parts of his empire. He remained the feared Korean mafia boss. They built a life, family, a legacy, and every year, on the anniversary of their first meeting, they returned to the garden where the fence still stood. They'd pack a lunchbox, rice, stir-fried vegetables, fried plantains, and they'd sit together, Choi between them, and tell him the story. The story of a hungry boy and a kind girl. The story of a promise kept. The story of fate and second chances. When Choi was 7, she asked a question that made them both pause. Appa, why did you keep looking for Yama? Even when you couldn't find her? Miho knelt down to his son's level. Because when someone shows you kindness when you have nothing, you don't forget. You honor it. You cherish it. And if you're lucky enough to find them again, you hold on and never let go. But what if you never found her? Then I would have kept looking, he said simply. Because some promises are worth keeping, even if they take a lifetime. Choi thought about this, then nodded seriously. I'm glad you found each other. They say some promises are meant to be broken, but the ones forged in hunger, in kindness, in the desperate hope of a boy with nothing, those promises become destiny. She fed a starving boy behind a rusted fence. He became a powerful Korean mafia boss who never stopped searching. And when fate finally brought them together on a blind date neither expected, they proved that true love doesn't forget. It waits. It searches. Keeps its promises. No matter how long it takes. If the story touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video if you believe in second chances and promises kept. Subscribe for more emotional love stories that will make you believe in fate. Tell us where you're watching from. And share this with someone who needs to believe that true love is worth the wait. Remember, kindness is never wasted. You never know whose life you're changing with a simple act of compassion. Until next time, believe in your story.